How's it going? Hope you're having a great day. And we're going to talk about my photo project, The Garden That Grew. So, this project is the first project during the COVID time period. So, COVID had just, it's pretty much the beginning of COVID. So, I remember when that all started, I remember doing a walk in North Olmsted, shooting photos, just kind of enjoying the day. I know it was in the afternoon and shooting photos and I was, doing my thing. And I think it was something I seen on my phone about, I think that's when they were talking about like lockdown. Something I know there was something that kind of happened that day that like really made it the start. There was like rumblings of things going on obviously beforehand, but I remember specifically where I was at when I seen like, oh, this is a big change that's about to happen here. And it was like some a little bit of time had passed, not much, but I was like, man, I really want to start shooting because it was a nice time of year, but you couldn't really go anywhere. And I was like, I'm gonna find a park to go to. It's outside, and it's just a project I can do. And that's what I was into. I was trying to figure it out, and I might say this wrong because I still don't even know what it's called properly. If I am saying it wrong, is there's a park which is basically they call it a gardens place, but it's basically a park at the same time. So it's a Schopful Gardens, and I think it's out by Vermilion, Ohio. Um, just a whole different vibe, and the when you're there, it feels like, at least in Ohio, it feels like you're somewhere else. It's almost like uh, a reverse, or like it's kind of like Edward Scissorhands. Maybe that's a good way to put it. Like I felt like I was Edward going into like this colorful place. I think that was just coming out of winter. There's the COVID times here, so you're kind of like on your own. And then I just go to this place. It's just like it feels alive. There's a lot of color going on, and that's a good way, I guess, to describe how this place felt to me. And the garden that grew is actually a quote from the original owner of the property, and I was like, that actually works perfect for the title for this project. And so I'll show how this project started, or actually how it was published. Sorry. So this is published way different than everything else. This is more of I mean, it's definitely an ambitious project. So when I released this, it came out in a box. I make all this fit here. So yeah, the whole idea of this project was just like kind of going a whole different way, just changing it up. And I think without even really knowing this throughout the years, but making these commentaries, is that I was definitely experimenting with all of them. I think each one of them has their own vibe. I think after all of these projects, you can only do, I guess, so much, but you can definitely see a theme here where I'm just really experimenting and just kind of following my instincts of how I want it to be. So, all right, The Garden That Grew, when it was published, came in this box. And in the box is a larger format zine that I made in the studio. And this is with basically large format standard paper. And so with this zine came a print of every single photo in this project. And the size of these prints are 8.5 by 11. And yeah, there's a print for every single photo in this project. And you can definitely tell the color difference and quality, obviously, because this is just literally standard, like very thin copy paper, but it's a large format. It's not staple bound, so you can see how it was made. But it's basically how I looked at it was, this is kind of like the program, or like, I mean, this isn't like the final image or final uh, piece of the project. Like it was really the prints, and this is really where I got into um, kind of how I wanted to change my way of distributing my work and having things available as prints. That my webcam is spazzing out with a focus there. I forgot where I was going with before I realized my stuff was all out of focus and crazy. Oh, like trading cards. So like with prints, that's kind of where I was like the vibe I was getting was like, I want to make like my own kind of collectibles and kind of do that with photography and just, you know, that's going to be my kind of signature of having things because photography, like social media and like that type of thing with photography is like not really my thing in the sense of like I don't really post. I can go on a rant. This is a commentary about Garden That Grew, but basically, like my style is my style, and I feel like doing prints and doing like editions and doing project like this one where it comes in a box set kind of just fits my style. Like I'm not the standard, you know, as Ricky Powell put, like Joe Schnook, photographer. You know what I mean? I'm definitely, you know, that's why I call it Quested Art Life. I definitely see myself as like an artist. And yeah, and so I guess that's where I was getting at with this time period. This was, I think, for many people, like COVID was a change for many people because it really was a self reflect on your own vibes and what's going on in your life and what kind of changes, you know, are to be made. And this was kind of that time for me. And with my photography, there's always those big kind of changing moments, like a specific year that like it was a big shift with how I do things. So, anyways, that kind of explains my mentality at the time of like, I wanted to do something special, and that was it. The box set was like, that's something that's just totally different. You get kind of almost like a proof version in a large format zine, which is my first large format zine I ever did, and then an actual print with every single one. So, um, yeah, so I really enjoyed doing this project. So let's get into the photos here. So I knew when I s- stumbled upon this that this was the cover. It's just something that's just really crazy to me, and it kind of like doubles back to why I felt like it was like an Edward Scissorhands experience, where it has this kind of swirl thing, and Tim Burton was a big inspiration in my uh, years growing up, and still is, for sure. But definitely when I was younger, that was kind of like my thing where I know, you know, I was able to be different, that type of thing. So this is kind of a just an opening shot, you know what I mean? Of this is the place, and as you can see, it's not your normal park, that's for sure. And I also just wanted to bring out my style of things. It's just like, and it's always like that's the challenge for me. Where I'm out, it's like, how can I photograph this, or how to just like pass on it? I think there's things that people would photograph here that would just be like the Instagram shots, where I just don't. I see that and I move on. Yeah, I mean, it's just not for me. Like, for me, I'm like walking around and I see this kind of like almost uh, something from like the movie Castaway with the volleyball. You know what I mean? You kind of get this face looking thing and like the hair from the top of the volleyball up here. Um, it's so funny. Like I seen this, like, and I didn't think of Castaway right away until I actually like was taking the photo, and then like I'm just looking at it and I'm just like, that's an interesting one for sure. Again, I try to. It's one thing I've learned over the years of like trying to get better at preparing photos. Like I felt like this was like another face in the sky and that type of thing. So here's like the first uh, glaring example that it's the COVID times. And yeah, I approached these people and I asked them if I could take their photo, and I had them kind of come a little bit further closer to me, so I kind of had them walk over a little bit. I wanted just a little bit of like the water in there. They're more like kind of out and to the right, and it was just like a I just wanted a little bit of a I don't know more to the atmosphere, I guess. So I was also experimenting with Flash when I was here too, and this is an example of that. I feel like I definitely I get in these modes where like, man, I want to start shooting around with Flash and just kind of like make the normal just different, like what's going on here type thing. This tree is kind of crazy. Like it was actually just all white. It's not just like a lighting thing. It's like all white up here. This lady was cool too. I talked to her, um, and she was actually just looking. Like I didn't really do much. She was just looking at that direction, but I wanted to be able to kind of frame it how I wanted instead of like trying to get like a photo. It was just one of those things where I was just like wanted to take my time with the photo and try to get something like exactly how I wanted. And this is just another one of those things where I felt like I just factored in a little something to it. Really like this one. This is another flash photo. Just getting the sun in at the same time. It's just one of those things that like it's not like, you know, a normal look you would see. You know, with the light coming in and then light hitting this, it's just something a little different. There's some crazy stuff here. These trees are just cool. The lighting is awesome. These are generally early morning. All these are early morning. Like not like super early, but they're morning time for sure. Uh, so this girl was awesome. She was walking with someone else, and I just really was drawn to her vibe and talked to her for a bit. And we actually like had a full on shoot. Walked around, shot some other angles, and I went with this one because I really liked all these like branches and just like kind of like these looking twig things everywhere. Was kind of helped the image a little bit, and I just like that she's just in all black, hair's black. She was super cool and down, and her friend actually shot a kind of a behind the scenes photo and posted on Instagram. So it ended up just being this full on thing, which was a great experience, and you know. Uh, wasn't wearing a mask at that time. That was kinda like the crazy thing, like, everyone, obviously masks were a big thing during this time period, and, but it was cool to be, like, just down, you know what I mean? And, great experience for sure. I felt like this was like a little person, uh, under here with, like, these crazy arms, like I don't know. This one kinda seemed a little crazy to me. This is another one that was like, it'd be great to have a behind the scenes photo of this because 'cause I'm, like, laying under a bigger part of a tree and, shooting this photo with a flash. Again, this is actually another flash photo where I'm just, like, making something that this grass is weird because it was, like, cut and then not cut, and then just kinda realized it when I was walking around. It's, like, something a little different and just another pathway. I wanted to make sure I had, themes of that. As you can see, like, just kind of just comparing certain photos, pairing them up, that type of thing. Talked to this couple. This is, like, just a full other extreme. I have a full on, photo shoot with that girl and, no mask, nothing. And then, I run into this couple that has just like gardening gloves and these big fuzzy gloves and the masks. So it's just a, completely different, comparison there. And this one was interesting because like a part of me, like you can tell the dude is just like smiling behind his mask, which normally like I'd just like not be into, but for some reason, like with it having a mask on and her definite like just like withdrawn vibe and like the big hand glove. There's just so much going on here. Um, that's fascinating to me because yeah, typically I probably want them like both to have not like be smiling or something like that, like for like the image. But this one just works out in a different way because it almost is like really encapsulates the time period in just this weird way. COVID was a weird time, and I felt like this like was a cool like almost a path without a path. It's probably one of my favorite ones, just for the mysterious factor in it. This would be a really great one to blow up like pretty big print and just that theme of paths. So it's like the unknowns. That's kind of what I was looking for, and then I remember shooting this and kind of reminded me of just like chaos. That's why I like the other tree one too, where like the branches are all just nuts. Keep on like whacking my mouse everywhere. So sorry about the screen bouncing around here and there. This is another flash photo. This is just me sticking my camera right against the even taller grass that was that led from the shot from earlier, and just kind of made this almost like a I don't even know what this kind of created. Just like reminds me of like something from the '90s or something. Like a could be like a folder or something. And yeah, it topped off with another flash photo. This is getting real crazy, with exposure and all that kind of stuff. Ended the project, the garden that grew, and yeah, again, it's a great experience shooting this for the time I was in. Just getting out and making something happen during these times was cool. And this would be kind of the last project for a little while because of COVID. And but I definitely come back with a great one. So definitely stay tuned with that. And I just want to thank you for hanging out for this companion commentary on the garden that grew. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And again, check out everything on my website. All the projects are free. You can check them out there. There's also prints and books and merch if you're down for that. That's all at beastmedia.com. And I'll see you in the next video.